It is time to finish the show by turning our attentions to sport, and if there was a category at the Best of Clare Awards for the best hurling county in Munster, out of the 5 shortlist, we would hope Derrick Lynch, that Clare would be nominated as the best. Will they prove why they are the best this coming Sunday and build upon the opening day win over Waterford when Limerick come to town? The team that people seem to think will regain the Lee McCarthy Cup after, what can you call it, a barren period, 2 years?
I suppose, given the success they've had, maybe a mini famine, perhaps,
a mini famine, yeah.
In between all those glory years. So yeah, look, it's always one of those games. I remember being here 2 years ago, before the game, and about 10 o'clock in the morning, a bus load of Limerick lads pulled up with crates of cider of a Sunday morning at 10 o'clock. So I expect something similar to be departing here on Francis Street on Sunday. So look, it creates a very, very special atmosphere, and I think first and foremost it's a major boon to Uptown, shall we say. I think there'll be a lot of places rocking early doors, and that's fantastic for them as well. But I suppose on the pitch, the 2 teams named this morning, I suppose from a Clare perspective, it's as you were from the team that started, not the team that was named, the team that started against Waterford, meaning Shane O'Donnell is in at corner forward. On the bench, a couple of bits and pieces of news there. David Fitzgerald doesn't make it. He got injured for Ryan Kilnamona last week, so he's not on the 26. But David McInerney does come back in, which is a huge boost because he's a massive defensive cover. Now, whether there'll be late changes to that, we don't quite know. That's why when we're reporting on stuff like this, we've tended to use the phrase named their matchday squad rather than named their team, because that can often change. And the same with Limerick then. Darragh O'Donovan and Tom Morrissey come into their starting team in place of Cian Lynch and David Reedy. So again, you're replacing all-stars with all-stars, so that's the strength that they have to come in. I suppose a lot of the analysis maybe is that because of having no Cian Lynch, having no Arden Gillan, that the Limerick depth of bench maybe isn't quite as strong. The likes of Ethan Hurley and Matthew Fitzgerald and these fellas, they're good players, but they're certainly not the same. This phrase that was coined for Limerick a couple of years ago of the bomb squad that would come in to finish out games, they don't quite have that anymore. And I think, given that it's going to be such a high-octane game, I think the first 15 minutes here are going to be ferocious. And I think it's the team that will have the gas left on 55 that will ultimately come through here, which is why I'm confident from a Clare perspective. If you look at Ian Galvin to come into that team, Dermot Stritch to come into that team, Shane Meehan, David McInerney, Jack O'Neill, you have a lot of pace and power there to come in the last 15 minutes. I'd be hoping that might be the facet by which Clare might just shade this. I mean,
even given what you said about Limerick and the squad depth not being what it once was, league champions, obviously we know league and championship, very different animals, and them coming to Ennis is always going to be a difficult game anyway, but even more so given their 2-point defeat to Cork. 2 defeats really sees the sweat beads gather on their foreheads, and indeed John Kiley's, in terms of getting out of Munster and continuing their championship journey. So they can ill afford a negative result this coming Sunday, which makes them a very dangerous prospect.
Yeah, and it just goes to show the madness that is the Munster Championship. Limerick have always won in Ennis, or never have lost in Ennis in the round robin. Clare have never lost in the Gaelic grounds for quite a while in the round robin either. So, this home advantage,
I don't like what you're about to say.
This home advantage thing, something has to give, and I think it will. I think from a Limerick point of view, I think if this was a do or die game, you may have seen Aaron Gillan. Now, we're yet to get the list. It'll come out shortly of the standby players, and I'm led to believe that Gillan is on it. But I think if Limerick look at this game and ask, is it worth the risk? What's the long-term goal here for Limerick? Is it to be Munster champions? Is it to advance to an All-Ireland series? Which is the bigger gamble here? And remember, they have 2 home games to come to finish out against Tip and Waterford.
So do you think they'd be satisfied enough to squeak out in third?
Yeah, I think so. And from a Clare point of view, a win on Sunday means that if Limerick win their 2 home games, we qualify for a Munster final against Cork. And I think that's a very, very good scenario for all 3 teams, to be honest. It would obviously knock out the current champions, and Waterford's woes would continue in the Munster series. So I think that's what Clare will be really gunning for, and I think Brian Lohan will want to reward the home crowd. It's going to be a capacity crowd. I'm led to believe that close to 800 or 900 tickets were sent back by Limerick clubs and were snapped up again on Ticketmaster yesterday, the vast majority from Clare. So I think the atmosphere is going to be absolutely sensational. And the last couple of games we've played against Limerick, bear in mind, we looked to be cruising going into the last quarter 2 years ago, and we saw how that game turned. So there's a bit of an axe to grind from a Clare perspective, and I think to lay down a marker now, to beat Limerick in Ennis, get on to 4 points and head for Thurlaston in 2 weeks' time, or just under 2 weeks. It'll be on the Saturday evening, May 16th, I think is the date. Would be savage. So I think there's a lot on the line here on Sunday.
Okay, attentions before that turn to this evening and the Provincial Minor Championship. Are Ger O'Connell's Clare side going to get a positive result away to Cork at Páirc Rin and potentially keep their journey going?
I think this is about the 4th time I've been asked that question about this Clare minor team, and my answer is always the same. At minor level, you just don't know. It's such an unknown quantity, although they will be really buoyed up by that win over Waterford in Six Mile Bridge last weekend. And it's a mad championship, because actually 4 of the 5 teams progress in some shape or form. The top 2 go to the Munster final. The 3rd and 4th place teams go into the All-Ireland series at those preliminary round stages. So that's why the win over Waterford last week was actually so important from a Clare perspective, because if they beat Cork tonight, there are actually a sequence of results which are likely to occur next week that could yet actually see Clare into a Munster final on head-to-head, even though now, at the minute, they're sitting bottom of the table. Even if Clare lose tonight, there's still a sequence of results can happen next week that would see Clare and Waterford finish level on 2 points each. Clare would then leapfrog Waterford on the head-to-head into 4th place and qualify for the All-Ireland series. So while it's just mad the way all the things can work out. So when all the results are done, we'll obviously know, but it's looking a lot brighter now because of that Waterford victory, and because it's Waterford we could end up on the head-to-head with. So in a lot of ways, maybe from a Munster final qualification perspective, it's a bit of a free shot tonight, and see how things go next week. And if not, there's still an All-Ireland series, which for these young lads, more games, more development, more time on the field, that's also important.
Okay, and that throws in at 7 an hour before that. Of course, you'll have sideline view, I'm sure, big preview of the Clare Limerick game and other bits and bobs as well.
Yeah, we might mention it. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant stuff. Derrick, thank you very much. Make sure you tune into our live coverage of that game on Sunday afternoon. Throw in at 2 o'clock.